What it do, what it do, what it do, what it do. Appreciate everybody tapping in this morning. It's good Sunday in the USA. What it do, what it do, what it do. It's your boy V Note the Most, aka Lil V, aka Got Dreams, aka Trilly Trill. Shout out to the people like the big homie Smoke. And what's up to all my strictly ghetto engines out here in this big engine country? Shout out to Hawk School. And I digress like rude. So today, it's almost like a movie date. You know what I'm saying? We fit to watch a little movie and kind of break it down like I did that one little old school movie. But this movie right here is Naked in the Sun, 1957, about Chief Osceola Seminole Wars. And I'm going also within the movie, I'm going to show some eyewitnesses accounts of the Dade battle. We're going to peep out this other channel on YouTube. I'll be checking out, be getting some good getting some good information about the Seminoles. You should definitely subscribe to the channel also. If you really into the Seminole information like that. But we're just to get into it though. We're just getting more information. So this right here, Bill, is about what really happened at the Dade's battle in 1835. We're gonna look at the movie. It was a movie made back in 1957. We're gonna check it out and see how they giving up little diamonds in the rough, little nuggets here and there about the history of the Black Americans, Black Seminoles. For sure. What's up? What it do, Nate? What it do, Nate? Nate the Great. I'm just sitting here just doing like I said, a little movie day, but at the same time, I'm gonna also show some eyewitnesses accounts that was found by a man that really, I ain't gonna say that really, but he it seemed like that he been looking into the Seminole Wars for a long time, since like 1997. He be doing the reenactments. He an ex-sergeant, so he kind of he be getting those what you call them primary sources. So this is definitely a a person that you want to listen to or something like that. If you, just like I said, if you're really into the Seminole history like that. But let me go on and get the movie started. We can go on and break this down. Turn this off.
This is a true story of a place, a person, and a time long hidden in the dark green density of the Florida Everglades. It is a story that begins with the love of a man for a woman and ends in a war that was never won. It is the story of a man as violent as the natural earth about him, and of a man so dedicated to a life of peace that he set the whole territory of Florida into a raging inferno.
So what made me think about this part of the movie right here when I checked it out? What it do? 903, he gonna buy the P. So what made me think about this part of the movie is because they say that Osceola had two wives They say one of his wives was an Indian lady, and one of his wives was a black lady. So I'm thinking this part of the movie, they saying that this is the black lady, but they got her as, I don't know if she was a yellow bone or whatever, but they got her as kind of like an Indian. But go on and peep this out, because within this scene, she gonna be at like a, I guess, a Negro town or a Negro village, where the dude gonna do a little slave raid or whatever. And he just, well, we're gonna get into it, but so man, I don't know if this is about the black wife or the Indian wife, but they got but they got this woman around the black people. So go and check this out. Now you see, my dude ran up on the dude with the pistol. He ran up on him. And bring that back. And bring that back. He ran up on him. He bust right there. Somebody ran up on him. Oh no, that wasn't him. That was somebody else. Okay, he's tripping. So why would they have her do this within the movie? So that's why I'm trying to figure out, is this the Indian wife or is this the black wife of Osceola? You know what I'm saying? So as you see that it was love anyway, you know what I'm saying? It was major love. So we're going to keep it going.
Turn him out of here. Burn it down.
So, man, I don't know if they're going to be tripping with that little music, little copyright or whatever. So I'm going to go on and pause a little music. But you got Dennis Cross, Robert Bowes, some of the actors. But yeah, this right here, this what I'm showing this for is because this is kind of, I ain't going to say this is the eyewitness account, but I'm showing the movie. And within the movie, I'm going to be showing videos of what this man made of some eyewitness accounts that was taken down in the 1890s. Some of the last survivors to ever, to talk about Dade's battle, or to ever talk about what was going on in Florida. And these is black people. You know what I'm saying? These is black Seminoles and also just black people that was down there. But they letting this music play right now, so I'm going and I'm pausing it right here for the music as far as muting it. But we fixed to get to it. We're going to kind of bust it down a little bit. It's definitely fair use. Fair use. This is definitely education. This is definitely education, fair use, fair use. Definitely appreciate that, Nate the Great.
Don't you know to knock, Mr. Wilson? Will that be my money you're counting, Mr. Gillis? Of course not. Now, maybe that is my money. You bought official permission to hunt escaped slaves in Indian Territory. And you got the money. If you're inferring that I'm using the government's money... I ain't inferring. When it comes to money, I don't need to infer, now do I, Gillis? Maybe you even sold the Indians permission to steal the slaves back. What do you mean? I mean a bunch of them stinking Indians sneaked off with my property. Well, I don't know anything about that. Well, how do I know you don't? We was camped this morning, them Indians sneaked into my wagons and stole 6 prime slaves I took from the village of Holomiko last night. You only have permission to buy slaves, not take them. I'll take them any way I please. If I were you, I'd be careful, Wilson. The general doesn't want the Indians to be disturbed, not with the treaty coming up to be signed. Treaty? I thought we already got a treaty. Says the Indians are to be taken to the west, and the escaped slaves are to be taken back to their owners. Treaties are government business, Wilson. Government business. And I paid the government money for a license to hunt slaves. But the Indians won't honor a treaty that says they have to leave the slaves behind them. They gotta leave them. They won't. They regard the Negroes as allies. After all, some of them were born in the Seminole villages. A slave is a slave and belongs to his owner, and so do his children. Now, you send the Indians out west like the treaty says. I'll take care of the slaves. What you need around here, Gillis, is a little more guts. You and General Finch both. What we need around here, Wilson, are a few more guns and a few more troops and a few more supplies. That's what we need around here.
See, but that's the fake paperwork. That's the game. It's just to run up on some blacks and just say, well, yeah, they my runaways. That was the game. Just like the man said, it's people that's born within the villages. How y'all running up on them saying that y'all own them and they ain't never, they been over here the whole time.
I need a little less of this stinking heat. And a damn lot less of Georgia slave traders. Well, maybe what you really need, Gillis, is a little more money. Just a little more money, huh? Get your business over with. I want them blacks the Indians took from my wagons this morning. Who took them? I didn't have time to ask questions. They left this. The rising sun. Osceola. This is bad. Who's Osceola? A troublemaker. The chiefs listen to him. You better listen to me, Gillis. Either you get me a government patrol to go out and get my property back, or I'm going to see to it that the government needs a new Indian agent down here. One of them honorable kind that don't take money for favors. I tell you, patrol is a special one I want. A squaw with a silver band on her arm. I want her for myself, Gillis. You live, says I, for the knife you got. Well, he threw it at me, but he missed. There it is, gents, the knife. A real Indian carved knife. I'll take $1 for it. Come on, who'll give me $1? It's real genuine. Taken from a dirty, stinking yellow redskin. Who'll give me $1 for it?
It belongs to the Rising Sun, to Osceola. It is my name.
Osceola. Hey, Osceola! Osceola! I hear you're a heap big chief with the Seminoles. There ain't no reason why you and me can't make a deal on them slaves you stole.
Indians do not sell people like white men.
Only Micah sold them to me, and I'm gonna get them. I'm gonna get all of them. What's the trouble?
So that's what I'm saying. Is this the yellow bone? Is this a black lady right here, or is the Indians the slaves also? Is the Indians the slaves? I mean, who is the slave? Who is this woman right here? Is she the black lady or the Indian lady? But people would say, well, shit, she looked like the Indian. But in the movie, they damn near treat her and talk to her like she a black lady.
Indian here's giving me his lip. Brought a knife on me. Still got it in his hand.
What does the Rising Sun say?
Estahatki, Olewagas, Laxiojos.
What does that mean?
Means you're a liar.
No Indian calls me. Get away from me.
You're all so drunk.
I want a patrol, Major. I want a patrol to go out and get them escaped slaves this Indian stole off of me.
The Negroes in that village you raided last night were born and reared there. They're not your property, Wilson, so you'll get no patrol. There'd be no trouble with the Seminoles if it weren't for slave traders. If I find you on this post an hour from now, license or no license, I'll arrest you myself.
The general's gonna hear of this.
I'll be at your village tonight. I must talk with you. Isloche.
She'll be a good wife, Osceola. A pretty one. Remember when we were boys in the army post? We staged a massacre and scalped all of my sister's dolls. I don't think I've ever seen my father so angry. He really went on the warpath, didn't he?
My white brother did not ride all the way to my village to speak of boyhood days and dolls.
Olamika was wrong. He was a fool to let Wilson get him drunk enough to sell an entire village.
Olamika is not my tribe.
He's an Indian. You better talk to him.
Will talk bring back the lives of those who were killed last night?
I have no heart, Osceola, or tongue, to tell you how the white man regards your Negro allies. To the slave trader, they're slaves, property. You know as well as I that the white man will fight for his property.
The Indian will fight to keep his friends from being stolen.
I would hate to fight against my red brother. But I too am a warrior, Osceola. And if ordered, I have no choice. Speak to your chiefs. They listen, because you have lived with the white man, and you know the white man's thoughts. Tell them that the white soldier, who is their friend, speaks true when he tells them to go to the western lands.
Watch carefully, white brother. My fist cannot stop the small grains from sifting through. They must fall even though I try to stop them. It cannot be helped. If war is to come, then it shall come. What is to begin has begun.
For many suns and moons we've been friends. I hope your God and mine are kind.
day I became your wife. So soon you speak of blood and death. In man's language, there is much a woman cannot understand.
If white man's hand should ever touch your body. It is better to leave this land of ours for a land of no promise. We should be safe.
The voice of love speaks to the spirits of the water. The chiefs will listen to my husband when there will be no fighting, no death.
Well, the young men will be angry at first. But when they're older, they'll know the words are wise.
The mothers and the wives will praise him, and the songs of the children. And there will be legends about Osceola, whose greatness and wisdom brought peace to his people. And I shall tell them that he is my husband. And I shall tell all the old women of how you made love to me.
What?
What do you want of us?
The girl is an escaped slave. She's my property.
See, now that's what I'm tripping on, man. Is Indian slaves? Or is the black people slaves? Is this black people? Or they just got them depicted as Indians? I mean, I'm tripping, man. I mean, he just said, yeah, this my slave and standing on it. You know what I'm saying? That was what was going on back then. Super Bowl just coming through. You know what I'm saying? And it was a difference in Florida for sure.
Keep Still, Indian, or I'll put a bullet through her. He needs a little learning and manners, boys. Get away from him!
Come on, man. They got him getting whipped. Man, who else is getting whipped, man? Come on, man. This is crazy, man. I don't know what's going on, man. I don't know what's going on. Now he getting whipped. So, man, I guess they trying to say within the movie that he was going to be cool with going, you know what I'm saying, out west, out here to Oklahoma. But I guess since this happened, it's World War III. Yeah, it's Hollywood, huh? It's crazy.
Don't follow us if you wanted to stay alive.
Chitana!
So her name is Chitana. So I'm gonna have to see if that was his black girl or the Indian wife. You know what I'm saying? The black wife or the Indian wife, Chicana or Chitana. The Legends of Billy Jakes. Okay, I'm gonna definitely peep that out. We're gonna have to do a movie day on that one for sure. You say The Legend of Billy Jack. Okay, I'm gonna have to definitely.
Oh. My words will be brief.
I know the sign says Indian agent, but it does not give leave to all you Indians to come in here without permission. Since you're in, what do you want?
I come to the agent for help. And for the help of the soldiers. This fort.
Yes?
A man named Wilson stole my wife.
If this is just another one of these complaints about the slave owners taking back their property, I can save you time by informing you that Mr.
Now you see how the Indian agent in on it? The Indian agent in on it too. It's a whole play. The whole government play, man. It been a play. They've been running this play for a long time. We're gonna dig more into that part. But you know, right now we in 1835. You see, it was going on in the 1849, 1850, 1854, whenever I was giving it up on those bills I was doing. So yeah, this is crazy, man. It's all a play. They definitely giving it up.
Mr. Wilson thinks about the slave owners taking back their property. I can save you time by informing you that Mr. Wilson has the protection of the United States government. He has a license to capture any escaped slaves and to buy any that the chiefs want to sell.
My wife is a Seminole, not a slave. She belongs to me.
You released some slaves from Mr. Wilson's wagon train, didn't you? That was stealing too, wasn't it? Where are you going?
To see Major Dade.
Major Dade has left for Fort Brooke. General's orders. Now, I know how you feel about losing your wife, but it was a natural mistake. And I might be able to have some influence with Mr. Wilson. Now, if you were to persuade Micanopah and all the other chiefs to go west, and if you were to allow all the Negroes to go back to their owners, I might be able to get Chitota back for you.
Are you a friend of the Seminole? Or the slave trader?
Guard! Guard! Don't do anything rash! Guard! Drop that knife, Indian! Drop it! Osceola, by order of General Finch, you will be held prisoner at this fort until you arrange a meeting between us and all your chiefs to sign a new treaty. Take him away.
Now that gun right there that he just took, I think that's a gun that agent had bought for Osceola. You know what I'm saying? He had bought that for him, I think. I'm gonna show you that information also later, but not today, but definitely later. So this right here is the Treaty of Lands of Payne's Landing.
Be it understood that both parties, represented by the chiefs of the Seminole Nation and by this duly appointed Indian agent for the territory of Florida, do peacefully enjoin to agree to this treaty, hereafter to be recorded as the Treaty of Payne's Landing. Whereas a treaty between the United States
Their trail was lost at the fork of the Great River.
was made and concluded
They took
at
boats.
Fort Gibson, Arkansas, on the 28th day
I
of
was
March,
told that there was a woman
1833. And
with a white
whereas
slave
the
trade.
Seminole Nation agreed to relinquish to the United States all
Say that
claims to the land they now
was found when she
occupy
tried
in
to
the
escape.
territory of Florida. And whereas the Seminole Nation did agree to
She was
emigrate to
killed
the
there.
western country assigned to the nation of the Creeks, which is west of the Mississippi. The Seminoles, being anxious to be relieved from repeated demands for slaves and other property alleged to have been stolen by them.
Look.
Why does Micanopah interrupt the message of the Great White Father?
Micanopah says the writing is bad. He did not sign that writing.
The mark of Micanopah is here on this paper.
The white man is very clever. Indians cannot read. The words are false.
That treaty was read to your chiefs by an Indian agent at that time.
The agent gave the chiefs whiskey. They did not understand the words.
Proceed. Proceed with the reading. No more interruptions.
The United States does agree to have said property investigated and to liquidate that which may be satisfactorily established. And the Seminoles agree that their nation shall commence removal to their new homes in the West by ship from Tampa Bay as soon as the government can make arrangements for their transportation.
The chief of all Seminoles wants to know if our allies will go with us.
All except those slaves stolen or escaped.
Will slave traders like the man called Wilson be the ones who will say which ones escaped?
The Seminoles will be paid for all slaves taken from them in gold.
And whiskey? Like the great white father used in making men sign treaties?
Finish it. Finish the reading. Finish it.
Be it understood, therefore, that the undersigned are chiefs duly appointed by the Seminole Nation, and their mark upon this treaty is binding.
And if the chiefs do not sign?
My orders are that any chief who does not sign this treaty of removal to the West shall no longer be considered the chief of the Seminole Nation.
Charlie Amathla. Yaha Hadjo. Koi Hadjo. Alligator. Micanopah.
In the name of the President of the United States, I declare the following no longer chiefs of their nation. Koi Hadjo. Micanopah. Alligator. Yaha Hadjo.
My name was not called.
You are not chief on my rolls. But if Rising Sun will sign, he shall be great chief in place of Micanopah.
This is the only way I will ever sign a treaty with a white man.
You will regret this, Osceola. I will hunt you down until you are dead.
So this right here is the treaty that they were saying that my peoples turned coat, that my peoples had gave up the Seminoles or whatever to go or whatever, but I don't believe that. They just putting smut on the black man. They was able to swindle them out of the black people that they thought that they was going to be able to enslave. But hold on real quick. Let me go into this video real quick to give this eyewitness account of almost what happened within this little scene that we just seen. And this is coming from Aunt Bessie Payne in 1899. And what makes it so crazy, the Paynes that I got, people in my family last name Payne on the for real though. But You know what I'm saying? If y'all get a chance, if y'all can go subscribe to the Florida Seminole War History, he got some good information over there. He be reading, a lot of primary sources. Just the dude that I was saying that was an ex-sergeant. He be doing the reenactments. He been doing research since like the early 1990s and stuff on this topic. So he got some good information for sure. So what we first to do, we first to go into this video right here. Then we're gonna go back to the movie.
Hello again. Being Black History Month in February, I want to bring some attention to some people involved in the Seminole history in Florida and beyond. People who have not gotten much attention in the past. And so the first thing I found in the Ouachita Eagle newspaper, November 19th, 1899, I found the story of Aunt Betsy Payne, who was a witness to the Second Seminole War, who moved to Fort Clark, Texas. And so let's begin. Fort Clark, Texas, interesting story, if I can. And today it's near Brackettsville in southwest Texas. It was a frontier fort between the United States and Mexico. And in about 1849, Kawakachi, one of the famous Seminole warrior chiefs, took about 200 people with him down to Mexico to escape the persecution that was going on in Indian Territory. He took with him
So that's some of the information that I was coming up with as far as the last couple of bills, the 1849, 1850, 1854. That's basically what he's talking about right here.
a significant number of Black Seminole people and their families who were being hounded by the slave hunters in Indian Territory, and they just wanted freedom. So they lived down there for a few decades. Kawakachi died about 1857, I believe, of tuberculosis, maybe. Anyway.
And Kawakachi, who he talking about, is Wildcat.
After the Civil War, the federal government went down and recruited them back into the United States, said that they would make them soldiers with the cavalry and, pay them and offer them land. So many of them became the 25th Infantry and also like the 9th and 10th Cavalry that were the Buffalo Soldiers. They were at Fort Clark and Fort Davis. If you ever go to Fort Davis, that's an interesting place too.
I think I'm gonna start cutting carbs. I need to drop my belly fat.
And so this is Fort Clark during the cavalry days of the late 1800s out in the Texas Plain. Fort Davis and Fort Clark are very similar. Oh, and I'm up in Tallahassee, and nearby is Thomasville. And buried in Thomasville is Lieutenant Flipper, who was the first Black officer, graduated from West Point, and he was cashiered and brought up on false charges. They had stolen money and kicked out of the Army, but he returned to his hometown in Thomasville, Georgia, and is buried there. And they have a neat exhibit about him. He became a successful businessman in Thomasville, and you can go to the museum, and the Thomas County Museum in Thomasville, Georgia. So anyway, this is the cavalry post, and of course the Black Seminoles, as they became known, were recruited and became cavalry soldiers. Here's the old commissary barracks in Fort Clark, Texas, that you can visit today. It's not only a historic site, but it's also a resort. and many of the people were said to have made huts and shelters similar to what they had in Florida and Mexico. As you can see here from this picture, there's, like it looked like a wooden cabin, almost looks like a wood chimney. And they did wattle and daub houses. And were Buffalo soldiers for many years. They had a very hard life on that. Now, as the military was, they were very successful. Several of them got Medal of Honor for their actions. None of them were lost in combat, I believe, from what I read a few years ago. But life on the Fort Clark was not so good. There's a newspaper report in 1905 basically saying the government has abandoned them and they're starving and they're living in very destitute condition. So they were not given everything that they were promised by the government, which should be no surprise. And if you visit Fort Clark today, this is the stone barracks. I believe this was built in the 1930s to look like the older cavalry barracks, but you could actually stay in the barracks. They've turned into like a barracks building into a guest house. So here's the newspaper article I have, and it's very interesting. And I'll make some comments maybe as I go along. One Seminole War survivor, aged negress in Texas who saw the struggle in the Everglades. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma Territory, November 18th. Of course, this is before Oklahoma became a state. The death of any aged Indian takes from Indian history some of its romantic details and puts them beyond recovery, for they are not written down nor printed. In this connection, it will be interesting to know that there has been discovered recently at Fort Clark in western Texas a woman known as Aunt Betsy Payne, Payne, who lives with a small detached remnant of the Seminoles in that vicinity. Aunt Betsy Payne believes she is over 100 years old. So, of course, 1899, she was born in the late 1700s, probably 1790s. Her extraordinary memory of important historical events that she says she has witnessed and is able to describe with singular accuracy makes strong testimony in support of the opinion as to her age. She stoutly maintains that she has Seminole blood in her veins, though her color and features indicate that she is certainly a full-blooded African. And, that's kind of a biased and racist statement. Who's to know just because of her sun-baked skin color.
So she's saying she is Seminole born in 1790s in Florida. Come on, man. You know what I'm saying? This is the, you know what I'm saying? This one of the last ones, right? This one of the, for real, man. Man, shout out to this dude, man, getting this information, man, straight up.
Evidently has lived with the Seminoles all her life, and she is regarded highly by the Indians because she is the widow of Chief Payne, a famous warrior. I don't think they're talking about King Payne. They may be talking about one of his sons, because indication here is in this article is that he was living decades after King Payne died, but she's living in the same area. White people, especially the officers at the fort, treat old Aunt Betsy with much more than ordinary consideration because she is the mother of a race of soldiers. She's had 7 sons in the Union Army, and for her descendants, 23 are now serving with the United States regulars. She possessed a picture cut from the St. Louis paper showing a group of 14 of her boys, as she calls them, wearing Uncle Sam's uniform and wrote to Cuba. So she had some of her sons or grandsons that participated in the Spanish-American War probably went up Kettle Hill with the Teddy Roosevelt and his command. That's several of them did. Aunt Betsy has lived about the frontier forts for more than half a century, and owing to her motherly attributes and her skill in cooking, she is favorably known to a great number of Army officers, many of whom have given to her little testimonies of their regard. She has a silver dollar given to her by General Phil Sheridan and a handkerchief that was presented to her by General Robert E. Lee. On the walls of her cabin, there are many pictures of Army officers whose names are familiar to every schoolboy. Aunt Betsy says that she has a grown girl when the trouble occurred between the United States and Spain over the invasion of Florida by General Jackson. So she's talking about the first Seminole War in 1818. Okay, so she was a grown girl when the trouble occurred between the United States and Spain over the invasion of Florida by Andrew Jackson. If she was not alive at that time, she's certainly well informed as to the history of that particular period. Spain ceded Florida to the United States in 1821, and by the terms of the treaty made between the great powers, all runaway slaves were to be returned to their masters upon proof of ownership. Aunt Betsy says that one exception was made to this clause in favor of the Negro wives of the Seminole warriors. She distinctly remembers that King Payne told her all about this matter and asked her if she would not like to be his squaw, warning her at the time that the white soldiers might make lying papers and take her away unless she is consented to the arrangement that he had suggested.
Once again, fake paperwork is in the game. Nigga just ain't talking. Nigga just ain't making it. Nigga just coming up with fake paperwork to enslave niggas, man. Niggas coming up with fake paperwork to enslave the Black Seminoles, man. People that's native to the Florida, being there. They don't know how long they been there. Man, it's just crazy, man. It's like I say, man, I was seeing the fake paperwork when I was talking about that 1849, 1850, 1854. They talking about the fake paperwork. They trying to get paid, man. Come on, man. Let me bring that back.
The white soldiers like to be his squaw, warning her at the time that the white soldiers might make lying papers and take her away unless she is consented to the arrangement that he had.
Come on, man. It's the 1800s, man. She talking about something that was going on in 1830 something, man. That's her dude. That's just like if her dude was out here doing a thing, get hit. You know what I'm saying? She know what's going on. Come on, this is crazy, man.
Suggested. So it's definitely not King Payne, probably one of his sons. I'm sure if it was Micanopy, I'm sure they would have said Micanopy. She says that there was constant trouble between the Indians and the white settlers from the time until the Treaty of Payne's Landing, made May 9th, 1832. White men continued to encroach upon the lands of the Seminoles and had men committed crimes and charged such outrages against Indians. Negroes were daily fleeing from their masters on the plantations and seeking safe refuge in the Everglades behind the Seminole village. So, at this point, they consider the Everglades everything, I guess, south of I-10 in Florida. Wise old chiefs, among was her husband Payne, foresaw that war was inevitable and those who had faced Jackson's riflemen on the battlefield had good reason to fear the results of such a conflict. The peace party argued that the whites were trying to provoke hostilities to that eager frontier settlers might find an excuse to exterminate the Indians and steal their lands. Therefore, Chief Payne and his followers were in favor of accepting the conditions offered by the United States commissioners and avoiding the dangerous war by moving to Indian territory. The treaty was made. Okay.
And that's how I don't understand how in 1849 they ended up giving us up. Some of the chiefs ended up giving us up after going through all this. You know what I'm saying? And I'm really thinking them was the ones that was coming from Alabama late in the game on it for real though. But we're gonna bust it down. I'm gonna get to that information later.
Looking to cheat on your bed? Find the best time.
Okay, sorry. Lost my place here. I try to print out that I can read it. So anyway, okay, sorry. Aunt Betsy says that she saw the great chiefs and the white men signing the paper under a large tree in front of her husband's home, that she is sure that she was mother of 4 children at that time.
So that's the scene that we just seen within the movie. You know what I'm saying? So she's gonna talk about it some more.
That would be on the Payne's Landing on the Ocklawaha River. So that's where she's at, and that's apparently where the village was at. She certainly must have witnessed this important event, for the facts that she state them in close accord are written history. Osceola, who was the most influential and picturesque among the younger leaders, positively refused to touch the paper as he withdrew in sullen silence to the shade of the tree near where Aunt Betsy sat nursing her baby. He was afterwards joined by Alligator, Micanopy, Jumper, and several other warriors who supported his sentiments. So, I mean, there's always a argument whether Osceola would have signed or not, but under Seminole hierarchy, he actually didn't have the authority because he was not a major chief. He was a war leader at that point. Who knows anything about this hunting ground under the setting sun that the white man says is so good? If it is such a fair land and so good, why doesn't the white man go and possess it and let the Seminoles alone in their land of warmth and sunshine, said Osceola. Excellent point. We all know, said Jumper, that if it gets colder when the sun goes to sleep, the rivers are ice and the grass and trees cannot grow. There can be no hunting grounds in that dark land. The white man lies. He wants our country. We were here before he came. Let the white man go to that good land he tells the Seminoles so much about. And I love his words here. As for Jumper, he was born here by the beautiful rivers, and here he will stay and die with his arms in his hands. Jumper, I believe, was Eufaula Indian. May have actually been born in Alabama, but hey, that's close enough. Aunt Betsy says their young chiefs talked in the same strain, uttering their sentiments in a low tone, and that after a short time, they slowly withdrew from the crowd and disappeared in the forest. That night, Aunt Betsy told her husband that the treaty amounted to nothing and that the war was sure to come. Chief Payne said that if she were right in her conjecture, the Seminoles were doomed, for it was evident that the white men were determined to possess all Florida. There was a bare semblance of peace for the next 18 months during which period many chiefs were kept in a friendly mood by the payment of small sums of money and great promises that were to be fulfilled as soon as the Senate ratified the treaty. So she's right there. It did take a long time for the Senate to actually ratify the treaty. The war party among the Seminole Indians increased in strength, and Osceola, supported by several other chiefs, continued to display obstinacy, making little effort to conceal hatred of the white people. Osceola's conduct finally so alarmed General Thompson, who was the Indian agent in Florida, that he ordered him arrested. After lying in chains for 6 days, Osceola affected to repent of his former rebellious attitude and declared himself ready to accept the conditions offered by the commissioners and became ally and friend of the whites for all time.
We need stories. We need stories to understand us.
And she's actually correct on that. I had to do a little research on how long they actually held Osceola, and it was about 6 days, from what I've been able to find in the Indian Affairs papers. Anyway, about Osceola.
Yeah, she right. She ain't lying. What she gonna lie for at this point of the game?
Osceola, he outwitted his captors in diplomacy, for there is not a shadow of truth in his words, and revenge was the only sentiment that prevailed in his breast. He proved himself the Roman warrior of his tribe, thoroughly endued with unrelenting hatred towards the foes and scorning danger in every form. No chief was better fitted to avenge the wrongs that his people had suffered at the hands of the eager frontiersmen. Bloodhounds were used in the great Indian hunts, were carried on for 7 years in the Everglades of Florida. The Southern planters said that there were more runaway Negroes in the swamps than Indians. Well, that's an overstatement, I believe.
Well, I don't agree with him on that. Just like I say, I be listening, and I be getting what I can get. So, but I don't believe everything he say, but I believe a lot what he say though.
Aunt Betsy proudly boasts that the Seminoles were the first abolitionists in America, and she thinks history should credit them with humanitarian ideas in advance of the white people of the North. That's a pretty bold statement, but I really like what she's saying here. It's obvious that even 100 years old, her mind's very sharp. The greed for the land of the Seminoles and the desire of the Southern planters to destroy the refuge of runaway slaves involved the United States in a cruel and bloody war that lasted 7 years and cost the country $40 million and the lives of 1,446 soldiers and 1,500 settlers.
That's why I don't understand how top cats can say that Abraham was a traitor and he caused all this, and they didn't, and then nobody tell on him or nothing. That he didn't get slapped, he didn't get hung, he didn't get shot at, nothing. He lived to about 1870. I mean, come on, man, that's crazy. We're gonna keep it going though. Shout out to Top Cats. It ain't no shot at Top Cats. I just don't agree with what he said though, for sure.
Yeah, that's a footnote added, but that's actually correct too. Aunt Betty had stood on the field of battle, and she has hungered for weeks and marched through the Everglades with a child on her back, often within hearing of the baying of the fierce bloodhounds, in whose white fangs she knew there was no mercy. She had seen villages burned and children torn to shreds by dogs, and yet Aaron Fortune has left her in the old age, kissing the hand that smote her in the proud of her 23 descendants now fighting for the same flag that flies over the ashes of her wigwams and the mangled bodies of her warrior husband 60 years ago. So her husband died in war. Doesn't say. I don't know. Wondering if her husband was John Hicks, who was a major Miccosukee chief. The old woman says that she lived on the warpath, moving from camp to camp with her children after the battle for 7 years, following the fortunes of Osceola, Billy Bowlegs, and other famous chiefs. Her old eyes fairly glittered with rage, and she clenched her bony fingers when she described the conference and the treachery of Colonel Jessup, who induced us.
Round table game, ice on his fangs. All right, so what's going on, man? We peeping out a movie. We just got done. Excuse me. We peeping out the Seminole movie about the Dade battle, and within the movie, we was at the signing of the Treaty of Payne's Landing, and we got an eyewitness right here, and he's reading what the eyewitness is saying right here.
Osceola to attend the meeting under a flag of truce, solemnly plighting his honor for the safety of the distinguished foe. Osceola was no sooner surrounded by the Americans than he was arrested. The haughty warrior rebuked General Jessup for his perfidy and then presented his naked neck, telling him to cut it and see the blood of a brave man. So that, I think that's Osceola saying, go ahead and cut my neck and I'll show you the blood of a brave man. The Seminoles were soon found another leader and counted the war in defense of their country. Excuse me a minute, this tide print's pretty small here. The American soldiers had found a foe men worthy of their steel, and many generals whose names had commanded victory on other fields suffered defeat in the swamps of Florida before General Worth's bloodhounds tore the flesh from the bones of the last defiant Seminole. I
chose Wix for my business because of its massive scope.
Real faint print here, but this is very, very good. No Negroes were scalped, says Aunt Betsy with fury. No, not bless you, your life, honey. That means Indians they brought with them from the plains in flight. Us knew well enough that every Negro was worth a handful of gold. Interesting in this old woman, one cannot avoid the conclusion that the Negroes cut the big figure in that terrible war. When Chief Billy Bowlegs was captured in 1842, actually he surrendered in 1848, Aunt Betsy gathered her children about her and went with her people under a guard of soldiers towards the setting sun. The government settled the remnant of Seminoles who had arrived the long war on a reservation in Indian Territory. Aunt Betsy's sons enlisted in the United States Army, and in order to be near them, she lived for more than half a century among the western forts. A few Seminoles are living on the tract of land near Fort Clark. As to just how they came to be there is one of the next page. Affairs of the government that is past finding out. That's another story. There are several old Negroes and many old Indians among these people. Aunt Betsy says that they have been there a long time and that they own the land. They dwell in comfortable cabins and cultivate small fields and gardens, selling much of their produce to the soldiers at Fort Clark. All of the old Indians support Aunt Betsy in her opinion as to her great age. They held her in the highest esteem as the authority in matters connected with the history of the tribe. Her eyesight is dim, otherwise she is a well-preserved woman. Someone having suggested that the old woman deserved a pension, she quickly replied that there are many people more in need of government assistance. Her boys, she said, kept her well supplied with everything she desired. And that is a very neat newspaper article with some great historical quotes, if they're true. And I probably think they are. And one more thing, there's a website. It's the Seminole Indian Negro Scout, Seminole Indian Negro Scout Cemetery Association. The webpage, I'll have it in the notes. This is it right here. They
So the person that's, I think the person that's running it, okay, the grandson, the Scout Pompey Perryman. So, when I know this person right here, we done connected. He done been at a couple of family functions and stuff like that, and my people's, he old school. He one of the OG old heads. Definitely, he from down there. He coming from Brackenville, Texas, with it though. But yeah, he one of the chiefs. He be doing a lot of the organizations, and he got a lot of information also. And hopefully that I can bring him on one day, so he can give some information about the Black Seminoles and stuff like that.
He had a family reunion every year in Brackettsville, Texas. I haven't heard of it recently. So I don't know if it stopped since the pandemic, but they have a place, Medal of Honor recipients, some that are buried. There's Adam Payne and Isaac Payne, who are no doubt, even different spelling, they're Medal of Honor winners, but they're probably related to her. Pompey Factor and John Ward, other Medal of Honor recipients. And of the hard history, Adam Payne, he was one of the cavalry soldiers and was the lieutenant of the company, or actually I think his captain took 3 of the scouts. The Comanches had stolen their horses, so the captain and 3 of the scouts went to get him back and fought and got him back. And the 3 scouts that was with him, I think Pompey Factor was the other one. All 3 of them were awarded the Medal of Honor for what they did. They were outnumbered 10-1 and got the horses back. I think one of the Paynes had their horse shot out from under him. Sadly, Adam Payne, he was killed in a gunfight with the town sheriff at the time. They kind of fell in disfavor because of some of the racism. Some of them quit the army and ran down to Mexico, and came back again. But Adam Payne, the sheriff that he was killed by was another Medal of Honor recipient. So you have the only time in history one Medal of Honor recipient was killed by another Medal of Honor recipient. So it's a very sad history. I'm not going to get into all of it here, but just want to make you aware. And
So definitely, Aunt Bessie Payne is stamped. You know what I'm saying? She definitely eyewitness. I'm giving it up for my peoples. You know what I'm saying? So let's get back to the movie. And just like I say, if you do get a chance, which we're going to peep out a couple of more videos from his channel, definitely go subscribe if you're really into the Seminole history for sure. But let me bring back the movie real quick.
Came in peace, let them go in peace.
That man you fired a hate that only your blood will satisfy.
All right, so that dude right there in the green right there is Wildcat. You know what I'm saying? He definitely legendary for sure.
What is to begin has begun.
We got Abraham right there in the tall white tee. Come on, man, right next to the chief, man. Come on, man. What's up, man? He come on, man. Stop it, man.
It is done. The people of our nation have spoken through the voice of the council. The rising sun, Osceola, is now warrior chief of the Seminole. Now let him speak.
Listen to my words, for these are words of war. You shall gather into one place the grain and cattle of your tribes. Your son and their sons shall leave their villages and gather as one to the chiefs of the nations. Why do you bring me a Mathala?
He sent his people to Fort Brooke. He was leaving his village when we took him. He carries white man's gold.
The white man paid well for the honor of a Seminole.
The white agent bought our cattle. When my people reach the western lands, this gold will buy food. They are not hungry for war.
The council of this nation has spoken. Any chief who takes his people to the ships at Fort Brooke must die.
The rising sun speaks for a council who listens to the fire of his voice. Because of his hate for the white man and his love and pride in a woman, the council would destroy the nation with war. Surely Osceola knows that the white man is as many as the sands of the sea. Even now, many soldiers ride from Fort Brooke.
How do you know this?
They told me at Fort King when I was paid for the cattle.
You must order your people to return.
I know my brother well. In him there is a hatred that even blood cannot smother. I shall not bring my people back to die because of it.
Do what you must do.
Rising sun. Can shoot well. When we hunted, the hatred in him clouds his aim.
Listen. Listen to my orders. Alligator, you will ambush the column that rides from Fort Brooke. Fort King is destroyed, I will meet him at the place of ambush.
First blood is on my hands. Leave the gold at Karsten.
Nice night for a walk, sir.
Has the advance guard arrived from Major Dade's column yet?
Not yet. The runner should be through directly, sir.
I'll be at the Sutler store if I'm needed. Attention, soldier. Attention. Wake up, soldier. Guard! Guard! Guard!
Yo, that's slimy as hell right there, man. That is slimy, man. But they couldn't, they wasn't playing. They was not gonna get out there. Boy, it's over with. You shouldn't have went. Damn, that's over. Damn, he's supposed to be a big dog. They closed the gates on him. Crazy. But who was really running up was a whole bunch of black Seminoles. See, that's what they ain't really showing right now. This was a whole bunch of black Seminoles putting it down like this.
Bring it, go. Fort Brooke. Warn him, Indians. Fort.
meet me at the big swamp with the guns and ammunition. I'm riding on to the place of ambush.
Captain, noticed it this quiet in these swamps before?
Now that you mention it, no. Oh, but I've only been here a few weeks, Major.
A lot to learn about this place. Some men can live here a lifetime, never know it. That's the trouble, Captain.
Well, you seem to know it pretty well, sir.
Too many people don't know this place. The people in it. Can't take a man fresh from the War Department, the Academy. Put him down here in this fever, swamp, sweat. Expect him to know what it's all about. Different with me, I was born here. I grew up among a lot of these trees. Me and the Indians.
I've heard tell you know the Indians pretty well, sir.
Indian lover, you mean?
No,
That's
sir.
all right, Captain. If you haven't heard it, you will. People don't like things they can't understand. I understand the Indians, because I was raised with them. I'm only one man in the most misunderstood territory in America. Country full of generals who can't understand the Indians. Country full of Indians who can't understand the generals. In the middle of them both, a country full of runaway slaves who can't understand either one of them. It's a strange thing, Captain. Called a mistake. A lot of mistakes made by a lot of people. The only answer.
Right. We just got done proving that with the eyewitness, she born in 1790, she having great communication with the, you know what I'm saying, with the chiefs. You know what I'm saying? We having great communication down here with everybody, man. So, but peep out this though, because this is another reason why I brought up this movie and these videos also. So with this next little scene coming up, check this out.
Answer is here. This was here long before those mistakes. It'll be here long after those mistakes are made.
Udise, Major, Udise. Hachi Yali.
Ani Asaka? Ayana Untishe.
Found a place for you to ford upstream. It's good and solid up there.
Didn't you speak to him in Seminole, sir?
That's one of the riddles, Captain. He was born a slave, raised a Seminole. Now he works for the American Army.
See that born a slave thing? See, that's automatically to a black person. Unless you was vetted, which you was a freeman within their eyes, within their culture. So when niggas is hearing that, oh, he's born a slave and all that, no, he just a black person within America within the 1800s. That's it. And he's a native. But we're going to get more into him because he's an eyewitness. And we also got him. We also got his words of him talking. So we're going to bring him also. The dude that just got done. Let me bring that back.
I'll be here long after those mistakes are made.
Yeah, that dude right there. Yeah, we're going to bring an eyewitness of his account of what he's saying from a newspaper.
Made.
Udase, Major, Udase. Hachi Yali.
Hemi Asaka? Ayana Untishe. Found a place for you to ford upstream. Good and solid up there.
Didn't you speak to him in Seminole, sir?
That's one of the riddles, Captain. He was born a slave, raised a Seminole. Now he works for the American Army. Come out!
I need the bunga Hachia.
I get Jenny ain't solution. Indian side. Incha. The tribe of the rising sun. Osceola. Don't worry, Captain. I know him well. Very well.
So they're trying to say that it's Osceola, but the scene that we just seen before, where they was getting down on the fort, where that Indian agent died, that was 30 miles away when at the same time. But this is going on right here. So we're gonna peep this out. So what this is right here is General Dade. This is right before the massacre of the Dade battle.
On a new trail for us. Should be getting through that strand. Probably too thick for the wagons and cannons. Captain, halt the column.
Colin? Ho!
Company, halt!
Looks like we lost our trail.
Lost our guide, too.
my Pacheco!
So he said that they lost their God, and then he just yelled out the man's name, that black person's name. So this is where I'm gonna bring in the eyewitness part, and we're gonna hear about that. And just like I said before on the last eyewitness account of the Treaty of Lane's of the Treaty of Payne's Landing, you can go back over to the Florida Seminole War History, subscribe, and get some good information if you're trying to get some information about the Seminoles. So we're gonna peep this out.
I want to talk about the last man standing from Dade's command or Dade's battle, and that man was Luis Fatio Pacheco. Usually when we mention about survivors of Dade's battle, he's gotten overlooked a few times. So let's change that. So in our commemoration of Black History Month, the one black soldier with Dade's command who was captured by the Seminoles and lived longer than any of the other three survivors from Dade's command. Let's get into it. So as I was researching this, I found more cool stuff, which I always enjoy doing that. For example, that photo you see on the top of him, that's an actual photo of Lewis. It was like a parlor card. People had like calling cards, or they may have sold them to, as a source of income. So that's the only photograph we have of a surviving member of Dade's command, which is kind of neat because of the officers of Dade's command, there's only three that we have paintings of. Captain Fraser, Lieutenant Bassinger, and Lieutenant Mudge. We have no images of Major Dade. We don't know what he looked like. And we also have a photograph of Benjamin Alford, who was a lieutenant that started the march with Dade's command, but went back to Fort Brooke when Captain Gardner was joined by them. So let us begin. Oh, hold on. There we go. Okay, Luis Pacheco, he's most known for being with Dade's battle, and for a lot of times he was blamed for giving away the information to the Indians, but that was not true. For one thing, he did not start out with Dade's command. He actually left the next day. They sent back for a interpreter or guide, and so they tagged Luis Pacheco and sent him out from Fort Brooke. So he did not start out with the command. How can he give him away when he doesn't even know that he was going with them? And also, everyone knew where Major.
So you see what down in the movie, they tried to smut him out like, oh, he did this, he did him wrong. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy.
Dade was going. He was going on the Fort King Road to Fort King. It was obvious nobody needed to give that away. So, and another thing, the Seminoles knew Major Dade's command was leaving. They were following them. They knew they were going before they left Fort Brooke. So Luis Pacheco didn't betray anyone. In the reenactment for many years, Pacheco has been portrayed by HL on the bottom photo. He's the guy on the right, in the white shirt on the horse. Does a great job.
This is Minecraft. Get tickets now.
Pacheco, he was born about 1800, and he was on the New Switzerland plantation south of Jacksonville, Florida. In fact, there's even a historical marker for it, which I found researching this too. So I got to go out and see it. It's on the east side of the St. Johns River. Looks like it's kind of out of the way, but so I have a new historical marker to track down. New Switzerland plantation, started by Francis Philip Fatio Sr. He died in 1811 during the Patriot War. Pacheco was a slave, as the rest of his family on there. It was kind of unusual for the rest of the family to be together, but his father was a very valuable carpenter, boat builder. His parents were slaves, and they were both from Africa.
And that's where I don't agree with him at. You know what I'm saying? I definitely believe that they was here. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully that he can show that they are from Africa to say that. To just validate that. But to be a boat builder and a carpenter, what program was going over there in Africa at that time like that. So just like I say, I feel like he definitely from here, and he definitely wrong about that part. But let's definitely listen to more to what he got to say.
Lewis had a brother who had escaped and lived among the Indians for many years, and came back and just really surprised Lewis that his brother spoke fluent the language of the Seminoles, either the Miccosukee or the Muskogee. So it's imagine that at that time, Lewis started to learn the Seminole language at that point. He also spoke.
He just started learning his native language. That's it.
Spanish and French. And later in life, he proved that. Some people doubted, but he proved that. So anyway, their plantation was burned during the Patriot War in 1811, 1812. When I guess in 1812 or 1813, not long after Mr. Fatio had died. At that point, his son and Junior had taken up and treated Lewis very cruel. So at that point, Lewis escaped and lived several years with the Indians down at the fishing rancheros around Charlotte Harbor, I believe, Sarasota, on the southwest Florida coast. He was recaptured about 12 years later, about 1825, brought to Fort Brooke, and he was owned by Colonel Brooke, who ran Fort Brooke for a while. When Colonel Brooke was transferred over and left, he sold Lewis to Duncan Clinch, General Clinch in Florida. General Clinch sold him down to the, I guess, one of the Sarasota fishing rancheros. And that's where he was for a while. Duncan Clinch sold him, I guess, the trading post. Let's see, that was run by Antonio Pacheco. So that's where Louis Pacheco got his name. And so he was there for, about the next 10 years.
He had a name before that. So, I guess that's just how they label it.
Or whatever that. So Dade's battle happens. Dade's command gets to Fort Brooke. They're going to march up the Fort King Road, and we know the story about them getting wiped out. So they leave on December 23rd. The next day, Major Dade says that they need another interpreter or guide. Major Dade, he knew the Fort King Road. In fact, he had worked as part of constructing the road 10 years earlier and would be killed on that road. So Lewis, he's sent up to Major Dade's command and joins them on their fateful march. probably came up with Captain Gardner when Gardner joined them. So anyway, they're going along, and we know what happened to Dade's command. When they get to Bushnell, where we have Dade Battlefield Historic State Park, which I've been at the battle reenactment for the past 40 years, since 1985. And the command was wiped out. And we know the story about that. Only 3 soldiers survived, all of them wounded badly. John Thomas, I think he had an injured back, not too badly injured. Joseph Sprague, he hid in the pond, and Ransom Clark, who's the only one who gave the soldiers account, one of the soldiers' accounts. And Ransom Clark, of course, died 5 years later. So during the battle, when the firing started, Lewis was actually in the front with Major Dade. And so he jumped down in the palmettos, but he was soon captured and made prisoner under the, I guess, the village of Alligator, where he stayed a prisoner for the Indians for a while. And eventually they released him, let him be a free man, because he was no danger to them, really. There was some apprehension among the Seminoles. They did not.
New Airwick Advanced plugin with anti-fading technology.
They did not always trust. They did not always trust the men of color who were with the whites. So just because you had dark skin did not mean you were allied to the Seminoles. So at first.
Exactly, man. That's what I was trying to say, man. There was a lot of people that came late into the game, and people that was already foundational in Florida. You know what I'm
saying? Lewis felt that his life was threatened. But he survives, and he eventually surrenders at Fort Peyton near St. Augustine in September. The whites. So just because you had dark skin did not mean you were allied for a while, and eventually they released him, let him be a free man, because he was no danger to them, really. There was some apprehension among the Seminoles. They did not always trust the men of color who were with the whites. So just because you had dark skin did not mean you were allied to the Seminoles. So at first, Lewis felt that his life was threatened. But he survives, and he eventually surrenders at Fort Peyton near St. Augustine in September 1837, which is 1 month before they captured Osceola, a mile from the location. I think I have another video of Fort Peyton. So Lewis, at that point, since he had surrendered, he was considered a prisoner of war, and he was shipped out to go to the West. He spent some time in New Orleans, where some of the plantation owners tried to claim him as one of their slaves, falsely, of course. He was never a slave of those, either the Creek Indians or the plantation owners in New Orleans. So he went to Indian Territory out in what's today Oklahoma, the Seminole Nation. He was at Fort Gibson, where once again the Indian agent Marcellus Duval tried to sell him to slave owners, and Marcellus Duval actually spent a considerable amount of time trying to capture Louis Pacheco and send him back. At one point, he was captured, but I believe the officers at Fort Smith or wherever Louis Pacheco had gone to had him released.
That's the same dude, Marcellus Duval, that I was But talking about within the bills in July 1849, 1850, 1854, there was the Seminole Indian agent that was really backdooring everything and was really trying to open up for the slave raids.
And then Louis Pacheco, he went down to Texas at that point, and actually Marcellus Duval actually followed him there. It's still trying to enslave him. It's like, yeah, I guess he has something against him, or so anyway, after the Civil War, Lewis is emancipated, and becomes a free man, and he registers to vote. Also during that time, back up a little, in the 1840s, the daughter or granddaughter of Antonio Pacheco is trying to be compensated for Lewis for losing him. Even has a bill in Congress. At first fails, then it's reintroduced about 4 years later, and finally it's passed Congress. But after a rousing speech by Congressman Joshua Giddings, it's opposed, and she is never compensated for Lewis. She was asking $1,000 for him. So that's kind of an interesting story. And so Lewis, not just being who he was, became some kind of a celebrity among the abolitionists. And so he was in Texas for many years, he registered under the name of Louis Fatio. I guess he didn't really care for the Pachecos on what they did for him, so he dropped the name. So when he registered to vote in, I believe it's 1867.
So that's one thing we got to be on the lookout too when we're doing our research into our lineage and stuff like that. A lot of names was changed. A lot of names was changed. You know what I'm saying? Around the time of that, Civil War and after the Civil War and stuff like that. So definitely be on the lookout for that.
He registered his name as Louis Fatio, and that's what his name would be for the rest of his life, of the next 28 years. So he's there in Texas and eventually goes back to Florida, to the plantation, or the former area New Switzerland, and takes up with the granddaughter of his former master, Mrs. Susan Philippa Fadiola Engel, and convinces her that he's the former slave that she had taught how to read and write back, decades earlier, many years earlier. So he's supported by her through his elderly years. There's an article in the newspaper about 1891, 1892, or maybe the 1880s about this amazing thing. And, kind of clearing up the story that he had no part in betraying Major Dade.
These Sephora colognes are a scam. Did you know these luxury fragrances cost almost nothing to make? David and I used to spend so much money on.
And this actually a parlor card of him that was sold at an auction site. You can see it does look like the sketch from the Jacksonville Times Union newspaper. So I think that's really cool that we actually have a photograph of Louis Fatio, is what we'll call him, the last survivor of Dade's command. What an amazing story to learn about him. I wonder if he has any ancestors or any descendants that survive today. So he passed away in 1895 and is buried in Magnolia Springs Cemetery on the opposite margin of the St. John's River, a few miles from New Switzerland. He was 94 years old at the time. Lived a long life. The cemetery still exists, but I think there's no existing grave markers. I looked it up on Find a Grave and it looks like it's one of those old unmarked cemeteries nowadays. So, there's no gravestone. So anyway, that's the amazing story of Louis Fatio. The first thing we have of him that tells us story is the book by Frank Lomer, Dade's Last Command, printed in 1993. Dade's Last Command you can get through the Seminole War Foundation. And the Seminole War Foundation a few years ago also printed a small pamphlet. It's a pamphlet here about him. It's only about 20 pages long. About Louis Fatio is actually our first pamphlets among the Seminole War Foundation. And it's by Alcyone Amos, who I think wrote about him for a dissertation that she had done. So that's pretty cool. And so that is the amazing life of Louis Fatio Pacheco, or
So that's why I wanted to bring that, because we just seen him within that movie, and they tried to smut him out and say that he set up Dade, and that's the reason why Dade. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man, it's crazy. Yeah, they gonna do us bad. But let's get back to the movie. Appreciate everybody tapping in for the show.
Louis Pacheco!
Don't mind saying, Major, I'm glad you're an Indian lover. I hope they love you as much.
Bring the column about. Get him out of here.
Completely surrounded! Look for the car! Look, nothing to George, sir! It's a massacre! Do something, Major! For God's sake, do something! Major Dade! Hold your fire!
I'm fine.
Man, that's crazy. They had to do that, man. That's crazy, man. They just had to. We had to take a loss some type of way, huh? We had to take a loss some type of way. They got the man flipping my man over and stabbing him after he done been shot up. Come on, man, stop. This is crazy. But peek this out. So, you know what I'm saying? I want to bring in another eyewitness of the Dade battle. I'll get to that one moment.
Continuing our history for Black History Month, and we want to give you something that you've probably never heard anywhere else. This is another eyewitness to Dade's battle, a man known as Dembo Factor. And this photo from the New York Public Library, from the Kenneth Porter collection. He's actually the elderly man here in the center, standing in the center, but we'll tell you more about that in a minute. And Dembo Factor has an interesting history. He's, according to his account, he was at Dade's battle on December 28th, 1835, under the leadership of Micanopy. He was an aide to Micanopy, where the Seminoles totally defeated Major Dade's army command and wiped out nearly all of the 110 soldiers. Only about 3 of them escaped and made it back to Fort Brooke. Oh, back to this picture. That's an old photo, but that's Earl DeBerry and then Ralph Smith. And so, yeah, some of my friends who I spent many years doing the reenactments with. So anyway, Dembo Factor, he was captured at Fort Jupiter when the Army captured several hundred Seminoles and their Black allies. He's listed as on the list of Negroes who have been captured by the troops at Fort Jupiter, Florida on the 22nd of February, 1838 to the present date. And he's on the list as a, I zoomed in under slaves owned by Nellie Factor. He's number 88, I believe. Dembo Factor, it says his age is 30, so that would mean he'd be born about 1808. So there's different dates for his when he was born, but that's not too important. He was young and at his prime during Dade's battle and took an active part in the war, no doubt. So he went out to Indian Territory, Oklahoma, and was out there at Fort Gibson. He was captured by slave hunters who captured a large number of people in 1844. And he was Dembo Factor was an ally of Coacachee. Coacachee was outraged at this capture and went to the Army command at Fort Gibson and was so enraged that the Army went and sent soldiers to bring them back to the fort. So he was brought back and released. But he realized with several other people that he couldn't keep evading the slave hunters who were trying to capture his people. So he went down to Mexico with Coahuilachi about 1849. And so
he was in that pack within that same bill that I was talking about within 1849, July 1850, 1854, them little bills that I was, you know what I'm saying, but just got done doing. Go check them out if you haven't, for sure.
there there's still a group that lives down there in Mexico, the Muskogeles. They stayed there several years, and then about 1870, the U.S. Army persuaded several of them to come back and be employed by Indian.
And that's that 1870 build also that I did. Go check that out also.
As Indian Scouts. So they are listed as Seminole Indian Scouts. And so Dembo Factor, even though considered elderly at this time, in his 60s and 70s, he was a scout or guide with the command pretty much nearly until he died in 1891. And so this is his grave at the Seminole Indian Scout Cemetery near Brackettsville. It says Demdo Factor. His spelling varies, his age varies. Born in.
So just like I say, man, I don't know why, people be tripping out. When we do say that we are Indians, even though just like we brought Aunt Payne, shout out to Aunt Payne, she come through, but she said she born in the 1790s. She a Seminole, got Seminole in her bloods. So as you see, the government buried us as Indian. So that's how we giving it up.
Florida Private U.S. Indian Scouts, July 1891. It's hard to read that. So anyway, he's buried with the rest of the scouts. In my last video, I covered a little bit about the cemetery in Fort Clark, Texas, where they're at. And so here's the newspaper article. It's a short one. It was originally in the St. Louis Globe Democrat and reprinted in papers all over the country. So I won't be reading that particular one. I'm reading another version here that's just easier to read there. So sometimes they'd be reprinted weeks later in other newspapers across the country. It says the story of a former slave, the massacre of Major Dade's command by Seminole Indians, special dispatch to the Globe Democrat. And others are titled Dade Massacre, an old Indian Negro who was with the Seminoles tells his story. At an Indian camp near Fort Clark, there resides an old Negro who was for many years a slave among the Seminole Indians, who is probably the only living man who was with the savages at the time they attacked and massacred Major Francis L. Dade's command in the Florida War on 28th of December, 1835. This old man is Dembo Factor, now some 80 years of age. It will be remembered that Dade's command of the United States soldiers was marching quietly along the road when it was suddenly assailed, and the whole number, consisting of 8 officers and 99 men, killed and wounded. And I also would add 3 Teamsters who we don't have the names of. And also Luis Pacheco, their black guide, which I'll do another video on him next week, I think. In fact, but 3 men escaped, all of whom were badly shot. And Dembo says, I know the time very well, says Dembo, for I was one of Micanopy's orderlies on that day. And the great Chief Micanopy commanded all of the Indians in Florida. The soldiers have started out for the day's march.
So that's what I was trying to tell Topcast that, yeah, Micanopy, it was you know, if if that was the case, I don't even know how Micanopy could have missed Abraham with all that. That's his right hand man. You know what I'm saying? Abraham was his right hand man. You know what I'm saying? The dude that's running everything in Florida, so called. But we're gonna keep it going.
And Major Dade had just mounted his horse and was eating a piece of cracker when Micanopy called out to him from his hiding place on the march. And Major Dade had just mounted his horse and was eating a piece of cracker when Micanopy called out to him from his hiding place on the side of the road. At the sound of his voice, Dade threw up his head and Micanopy fired, the ball striking him in the throat and going through, killing him at once. The soldiers fixed up a kind of pen in which they all went and were killed one after another. Micanopy had 4 orderlies, and I was one of them, being at that time a stout and healthy young man. In old Army lingo, orderly is like the first sergeant, so he was kind of commanded some of the Seminole warriors there under command of Micanopy. When the Seminoles departed from Florida, well, removed, I should say, and went first to Indian Territory and then to a place called Laguna de Yaco in Mexico, Dembo accompanied them, always doing well according to the knowledge with him, and proving true to his friends. The old man's face always brightens up when speaking of Micanopy, who was the ablest leader the Indians ever had in Florida. Oh, he was a great chief, said the old man. My, he was a great chief, and I was his orderly. You know, the white generals had orderlies, and so did Micanopy, for he was famous in his day and ruled over the people like a great general. The old man is able to work a little, but is very poor indeed. He chops wood and does what he can, seeming to enjoy life and especially amiable after he has visited the post trader's store. He has some friends among the people at the post who help him occasionally, though it is a wonder how he ekes out an existence. Brackettsville, Texas. And so that's an interesting story. I found that interesting, especially how he describes Major Dade's death, that Major Dade was eating a cracker, it says. Anyway, Major Dade was eating a piece of hardtack. He probably did him a favor shooting him after that and then say he was hit in the throat. Other accounts said Major Dade was hit in the heart. But very interesting eyewitness account, I think. And I was very glad to see this. I don't know if Frank Laumer ever found this. Frank has written more about Dade's battle than anyone else. So this short but very interesting account of an eyewitness to Dade's battle from the other side than what we have. We have Ransom Clark's account, we have Alligator's account, and now we have a short account by Dembo Factor.
So I wanted to bring that part into what we just seen within that movie. That was just crazy how they just tried to just do us dirty like that. But we're gonna keep it going. One moment. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? There was really Micanopy's work But I guess they're trying to, give it to Osceola. It is the movie.
Got to 48. Izzy, cover it.
The gods were not kind. Worse than mine.
The general of the treaty, who escaped me at Fort King, now leads a new army. 10 times my fingers and 10 times more. More than 200. We can take them with 100 braves, as you did with Dade. Now there will be more battles. Until all of us are destroyed. Is that not the purpose of war? To fight battles?
I buried my white brother by the lake where we fished and hunted together. They say he called my name many times in battle. But I was too busy taking revenge at Fort King.
I listened to the voice of Osceola. She can summon us. But I hear a white man's words.
My brother Kawakichi is fortunate. He was not raised with a white man as I was.
Sir, we've got to pull back for reinforcements. The men are dropping like flies.
Last time, no, Captain. Is that clear? I do not stop until I have him. Do you understand? I do not stop until I have Osceola.
Pace.
Yes, Lieutenant.
Captain Pace, Osceola just entered the camp, sir. Coahuila, the Wildcats with him.
Good. Well, that does it, Lieutenant. All the chiefs and tribes of the Seminole Nation camped in the shadow of this fort. Now, Osceola. Wonder how they'll like the rock and sand of Oklahoma. A lot of difference between that territory and this green forest they live in, poor devils.
It's going to be a job to separate the slaves from that camp.
Separate the slaves?
Well, yes, sir. It's my understanding we've got to separate the slaves from the Indians at sunup. They're being shipped to Georgia.
Where did you get that information?
From the Indian agent, sir. General orders.
Lieutenant, you'll have the Indian agent report to my quarters immediately. And Lieutenant, you can reduce the guard on the encampment. The Indians are here of their own free will.
Did you sign a treaty? Did you sign a treaty?
Our marks are on the paper. Mine is at the top.
10 days. 10 days from our camp, I have found a land with more game than our nation can hunt in 10 times as many seasons. It's a warm land, with trees as thick and strong as the pride of this nation that you would give to the white man. It is a land where our young men can grow strong and powerful.
Strong and powerful to become the warriors of Osceola. To war again, to starve again, to spill more blood.
It is a land of peace.
You speak bravely of peace, as a woman speaks bravely of war. But there is no peace in you, Osceola. The new Indian agent gives us a new land, and cattle and homes for our people. Our allies of black skin will go with us. I, Micanopah, have spoken for this nation. It is the will of the council that through this treaty will go the mark of the rising sun, Osceola.
It isn't right. The paper was signed in good faith by these Indians. You're breaking a treaty.
I'm the new Indian agent, Captain. Indian agent. When it comes to Indians, my word is law, treaty or no treaty.
There's such a thing as honor, Mr. Wilson. Treaties are supposed to be honorable documents.
Pretty words, Captain. Very pretty. But others has honor besides you and the Indians, the slave owners, for instance. It's their honored right to get back every slave in that Seminole camp. And that's the way it's going to be.
The Seminole Nation signed a treaty allowing them to take their allies west. This treaty will be followed to the letter. And I'll see that the Army prepares charges against you for immediate removal.
Prefer them, Captain. Prefer all the charges you like. By the time a general gets back to this post or your charges reach the authorities, my job here will be done. In the meanwhile, Captain, you're to follow the general's orders, to assist the Indian agent to whatever extent the agent sees fit.
And does the general know that you intend shipping half this encampment to Georgia as runaway slaves?
Well, why bother the general with such unimportant details, eh, Captain? General's been away. He's been sick, remember? Just mumbling curses at Osceola all day long. Meanwhile, I'm Indian agent, and you're in command of this post with orders to assist. Now, when you get all the slaves separated and on their way, you can do what you like with the Indians.
How did scum like you get appointed Indian agent?
Well, it's very simple, Captain. Very simple. All you need is influence and money. And the slave owners has plenty of both. Indian. I saw his face in the window. What, that Osceola?
It could have been.
I didn't know he'd come in yet. I thought he was still in the woods.
Mr. Wilson, as Indian agent, I hope you'll enjoy the job of explaining your new order to Osceola and to the other chiefs. Get up.
Look, son.
Chichota. They told me you were dead.
I am dead to you. I was afraid to see you. I do not belong in your hands. The white men have shamed me.
I only care that you've returned. Go find Gawagaji. He'll keep you safe until I return. Where in the fort does Wilson sleep?
No, they might kill you.
The Great Spirit does not intend for us to be separated again.
He sleeps in a room high on the east wall.
I won't be long. I won't be long.
Guard! 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 There's an Indian in this fort.
There's Indians all over this fort. What of it?
There's one in this room. He's stealing.
You better lay off that government rum ration. It killed my grandma.
Now, if you don't mind, there's a change of guard going on.
Wait a minute, Osceola. I brought your wife back. I'll pay you for her. I'll pay you for her in gold. $200 for the woman. $200 in gold. $500. $500. $500. Please. Please. Please.
We got Negro Abraham right there with the cane. Top dog, salute.
Now we can gather our tribes. Now we can move south.
It cannot be done. I've been the white man's prisoner. And with my own eyes, I've seen more soldiers than I could count. They will find us.
Prisoner?
They followed me to my father's village in the deep grass. A white man knew I spied on them. They took me and my father's family.
How did you escape?
They gave me my freedom and a horse. So I could come to you. The general called Finch. Took my word that I would bring the rising sun to him.
My ears do not clearly understand.
For many suns, I was in the white man's jail. Then a soldier came to me and said the general would speak with me. They said the treaty the chiefs had signed was good. That our allies would be with us. Our property would be safe. Then they said, bring us Osceola, your chief of war, that we may speak with him of his nation staying in this land, of white and red men living in peace. This I said I would do.
Lies! Lies! Are there none among you who hear the white man's words as lies?
And you
You listened to them. You agreed to their forked tongues and promised to give me to them.
Even as my brother Osceola speaks, my father lies in the dampness of the white man's prison, sick with long hunger. The prison is filled with Seminoles who could not follow Osceola into the deep woods because they did not have the strength to go. We have no food. Would you feed warriors roots? And no guns. Would you have us fight with stones? From the lips of the white general himself, I heard these words. Wherever the Seminole goes, he shall be found. Shall be taken. I too am hungry.
The marks upon this hand I know so well. It is the hand of a warrior and a hunter.
And upon it, the blood of my brother Mathala, my white brother Dade, the blood of 1,000 more. A man named Wilson lies dead for the shame he brought to you, and Gillis for the wrongs he did my people. In my arms is the woman who was taken from me, the woman for whom my life has lived. Why does the blood of war still feed my heart? Why do I hunger for it?
The mothers and the wives will praise him, and the songs of the children. And there will be legends about Osceola, whose greatness and wisdom brought peace to his people. And I shall tell them that he is my husband.
The stillness of the night. It's been a long, long time since I heard it.
Is everything in readiness?
Just as you ordered, sir. The Indians carry no arms. There should be no trouble.
Good. Good. You can take over now, Major Towers. And run out a cannon above those gates. We'll give Osceola a full salute.
Yes, sir.
And Major, I think it advisable to keep an eye on Captain Pace. Under the circumstances, you shall tell him I do not want him at the treaty table. Is that understood?
Yes, sir.
The sight that has left me, and the words I can no longer speak go with you. You are the spirit of this nation.
Osceola, let the rising sun speak as well in peace as he did in war. May no harm come to him.
I carry their flag of white cloth. It is their sign of truce. They flower it. My heart is here with you.
Up the edge! Up the speed! Faster!
The white general salutes you. It is good.
Attention!
Osceola, the rising sun, warrior leader of the Seminole Nation, has come to talk with General Finch of peace between our people. He comes under your flag of white cloth.
Are you prepared to deliver up all slaves now or ever owned by you or taken from the citizens at once?
You must speak. I cannot. The rising sun came here to talk of peace under your flag of white cloth. These are not the words you gave me.
Take over, Sergeant. Close ranks! Osceola has been taken, sir, under the white flag, just as you ordered.
The end justifies the means. They've made fools of us too often. Too often! Yes, sir. General!
What are you doing, General? You can't take a man under a white flag.
I'll take him any way I see fit. He is a criminal and a treaty breaker.
You don't know what you're doing. You're insane.
There are entirely too many Indian lovers under my command. You are under arrest, Captain Tate. Do you hear me? Under arrest. Confine yourself to quarters until I bring charges. Imprison Osceola! Imprison him!
The white man has won a great victory today.
Chain me.
Make it complete.
Imprison him!
Detail. Forward! Congress has ordered an investigation of your capture. They'll order your release, but it'll take time. Meanwhile, your tribes are camped by this fort. I've ordered their protection. There's nothing more I can do. The general is going to be relieved of his command. He's sick. Ill. Ill with hate. Osceola, are you any less to blame? Is there any less blood on your hands? Guard, perhaps tomorrow I can arrange for your wife to come and see you. She's well. At least eat your food. You can't go for days without eating.
Tonight. Tonight. It must be tonight. If she comes, I might keep her. It's true, my brother. Starved ourselves enough.
Perhaps now we can pass through the bars. White man weaves strong cloth for his blankets. Will hold us down the long wall. First I will reach the window. Then I will drop one end of the rope down to you.
It is Osceola, White General once in prison. Not Kawakachi.
The wildcat and the rising sun have hunted deer together and fought the white soldiers side by side. Either we go together or we stay together.
Let Kawakachi listen.
If Osceola escapes the white man's prison, there'll be war again.
Already there's a touch of the white man's fever to your body. Cold and dampness is not good for you.
I am still war chief of the Seminole. Listen to my words. Gather our people. Go from village to village, every man, woman, and child, young and old. Take them south to the land of the grassy waters I found, where there is fish and game and plenty. Tell them, live in peace as they did before Osceola. Tell them Osceola's war is over. It was a war of misunderstanding, a war of hatred among men, as I have hated. And the white general hated me. Enough blood has been spilled because of it. Guard well the one I love most. And say I spoke as well in peace as I did in war. And that my heart is peaceful with hers. And shall be with her in the warmth of the sunlight. In the stillness of night. Nicolotion.
Osceola, your blood is my blood. Your spirit is my spirit, and I take it with me. By all that is between us, I swear that it shall never leave this land. The rising sun shall never set.
mothers and the wives will praise him, and the songs of the children. And there will be legends about Osceola, whose greatness and wisdom brought peace to his people. And I shall tell them that he is my husband.
So that's Naked in the Sun, 1957. Chief Osceola. I thought I'd bring that movie and also bring the eyewitness accounts, to try to get more facts about the General Dade massacre, about the Dade battle, and also, to show that Payne, Bessie Payne, how she said that she was a Seminole. She got Seminole in her blood. She born in 1790. Foundation in Florida for sure. And was one of the, and also how she had a conversation with her husband about, and the husband was saying how the white boys was making fake paperwork. So I just thought that would be a good little bill for the day. We almost at 3 hours. I don't even know if YouTube is still letting me not post my invite to the thing. They've been tripping here lately. See, they still rejecting my things. So I don't know why they ain't let me put my little invite to come up. I gotta do a whole bunch of stuff to. But I'm fit to get up out of here though, man. I hope everybody have a good day for sure. Gonna let this rock a little bit. If you have any comments, definitely put them in the comments. Tell a friend, like, share. Yeah, definitely, man. That's what I'm gonna try to build. I'm gonna try to just come with the same little stuff I be looking at basically and just, present it to the people. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying. I'm gonna have to go through and put it on my thing and stuff. Plus, we at the 3 hour mark, and I'm fit to chill for a little bit. Just to eat and kind of step back for a second. But I may go live here a little bit later on, do a little bit hole in the wall dialogue and some Q&A for some of the last little stuff I've been putting out or whatever. But I'm supposed to tap out for a second. Like I said, man, I definitely appreciate everybody tapping in. We got Nike 903. He gonna buy the P. We got None Your Business. Boy, you're gonna be finished. You hear me? Now thoughts, he hit the mall, everything he bought. We got Nate the Great. We got Round Table Gang, Ice on his fame. And I appreciate everybody tapping through, man. It's historic, man. For me, getting more marks, more people tuning in. You know what I'm saying? So I'm definitely breaking my own records, you know what I'm saying? So that's what it do. But hope y'all have a good Sunday. Rewind that. Get some good game. Have a good day.